Family, the track we're about to interact with right now was brought to my attention via a donation from one of our subscribers. Now, if you want to recommend a song, the link to the PayPal is going to be in the description below because, of course, YouTube yanks 30% of super chats. Guys, I appreciate, as always, your open, curious attention. Back to the video.
So how did you end up in rehab? Tell me a little bit about it and you'll talk to me.
Oh, really?
I'm in here.
Yo, first of all, she had a donut on her chain, which is which I think is dope. You know, I was gonna kind of comment. I was gonna hate a little bit because she's cookie cutter. You know what I mean? As Snow the product would say, she looks a little cookie cutter. But the donut on the chain, I do respect it.
How did you end up in rehab? Tell me a little bit about it and you'll talk to me.
Oh, really?
I'm in here. It was a little bit of a misunderstanding.
I'm not an addict. I just came here looking for some friends.
For they got the same actors as Breaking Bad. Have you ever seen the show Breaking Bad? The acting was horrendous, except for on the part of who played Skyler. Saul, the lawyer, was good. Of course, Heisenberg, and of course Jesse Pinkman, and then whoever played the cop. They did good, but besides that, the acting was horrible in Breaking Bad. Like, the extras were terrible, and this seems like it's composed so far of Breaking Bad extras. Regardless, though, I'm gonna go ahead and let him cook.
Addict? I just came here looking for some friends.
I have no idea why I'm here.
Yeah, please cook, sir. Yo, first of all, look, I just like the way it sounds, right? It's like, this is just, it's just, I don't know what vibe it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, the early falling in reverse doesn't sound to me, and I've heard a couple of different examples of the early falling in reverse compared to the later Radkkey, and it just doesn't sound the same. It sounds like he was partying. It sounds like he was just, kind of going crazy. He's doing a very similar thing with the visuals, with the nurses here, which is just kind of like the, you remember the attorney, the attorneys and the cops and his other videos, right? He's kind of has the same vibe here. Well, no, I'm saying the dark is when I feed, right? Someone who feels alive in the darkness. They might be talking about, filling some kind of void, right? If the dark is when you come alive, it means that whatever you're doing in the darkness, may be like illegal. It might be shady. It might be some kind of thing that undermines the value of other people. What exactly are we talking here, Radkkey? Continue to cook, please. Whiskey is his holy water, is blasphemy. Whiskey seems to be my holy water. And that's dissociative, right? I mean, if whiskey activates you, right, it means that you go into this cognitively limited state in order to do the devil's bidding. Now, listen, it seems to me like a bit of banter, right? I mean, this is a similar thing. We've covered a couple of songs from Beastie Boys, right? And then, you know, Eminem, I am whatever you say I am. It kind of gives me a similar vibe here. Let me know in the comments if you agree. It seems like he's kind of throwing back at the public what the public is throwing at him. When he says, you know, hide your daughters, right? I'm a vampire. I'm going to lure your kids, right? What was it? Slim Shady, early Slim Shady. Early 2000s Slim Shady would say certain things like that. And you know, it's kind of throwing back at the public the fear that the public is, you know, trying to incite regarding the band itself. Does that make sense? I love the sound of it though. They can really sing together, which is something that, you know, you cannot say that about all bands, that they actually have a cool sound. Where is my self-control? You know what's crazy? He says, I'm not a zombie, but I feel like one. The idea of a zombie, right? Someone who's like the living dead, walking around with no feelings, right? A feeling of numbness, right? So he's appealing to these monsters, but I want you to know that all of these monsters symbolize something real in modern society, right? A vampire, something which feeds on the living, even though it's dead inside, right? We have vampires in society, not literal vampires, but people who operate that way. And then we have zombies in society. A lot of people think that social media and doom scrolling makes you zombie-like, right? And so, you know, don't necessarily take for granted the lyricism here. Let this man cook, please.
Daddy should have never raced me on Black Sabbath. I'm insane. Well, I can feel it in my bones, coursing through my veins. When did I become so cold? For goodness sake, where is my self-control? If home is where my heart is, then my heart has lost all hope.
Shout out to that drummer. That drummer is losing it.
God bless all of you now, 'cause I'm going straight to hell, and I'm taking you down with me.
And now he says, I'm going straight to hell and I'm taking you there with me. And how is it that we square that circle, given that hell is conceivably the worst possible misery for everyone, right? This is one of the reasons I think that it kind of exposes that the threat here is rather empty, right? He's trying to apply to himself all of the fear which is being applied to him from outside. And, you know, I want to know if Falling in Reverse kind of has that history. Hang on, let me just validate myself here. Hang on one second. Was Falling in Reverse one of those bands that the public had a fear around, almost like Marilyn Manson or Eminem, where people were blaming them for kind of the problems in society? Was Falling in Reverse one of those?
Falling in Reverse did stir up controversy, but not quite at the level of cultural panic associated with figures like Marilyn Manson or Eminem. The band's frontman Ronnie Radkkey had a turbulent past. He served time in prison, and that fueled some public debate. Certain songs and videos also had provocative themes. However,
Right. So he wasn't quite at the crazy level of getting called out by the government, like Manson and Eminem were. They kind of took the freedom of speech thing to the next level. But I think Ronnie Radkkey is kind of applying to himself a panic around rock and roll, heavy metal in general, right? That this is kind of disturbing the youth, and he's kind of applying that to himself. One of the bravest things that you can do, or one of the I don't know if you want to call it brave or brazen, is to take those terms that are applied to you from outside and wear them with pride, right? And he's taking that approach here.
Like a feeling in my bones, coursing through my veins. When did I become so cool? Like a feeling in my bones, coursing through my veins. When did I become so cold? For goodness sake, where is my self-control? If home is where my heart is, then my heart has lost
Tell me a little bit about Ronnie.
Ronnie's.
I mean, I guess it may be the hair thing or what, I'm not sure, but we kind of click.
We are cut from the same paisley cloth, my friend.
He's a rocker. I know he can.
Ronnie and I are pretty good friends. We were sillies back in prison.
I think Ronnie's kind of an asshole.
He's a party animal.
We've had a good time. You know that.
And you know something? God, when all the little babies come down the ramp, he stamps the ones that are his precious little special babies. And Ronnie's got the cleft. Well, as soon as I saw that was it.
Something is really, really wrong with Ronnie Radkkey. You know what I mean? And look, we're gonna look at we're gonna take a look now at the newer version, because he's done two versions. So without any further ado, let's let the man continue to cook, please. Guys, this is the third one of these that I've seen, and I really love and appreciate how Ronnie Radkkey gives us a lesson in perspectival knowing. Remember the 4 types of knowledge. There's propositional knowledge, which gives you access to information. And then there's procedural knowledge, which gives you access to skills. Then there's participatory knowledge, which is kind of the agent arena in relationship, right? That gives you access to the flow state. But then there's perspectival knowledge, which gives you access to different perspectives. And this way of doing it, the way that Ronnie always, or not always, but at least 3 times we've seen so far, he'll go back into the past and grab some lyrics from one of his old songs, and he'll redo it from his current mindset and just give us, 2 different perspectives on the same lyrics. And I think that's a brilliant thing to do, and it's very in keeping with the spirit of this channel. Let's let Ronnie cook, please. Please cook, sir. I'm Not a Vampire revamped. You see how Ronnie has bars? Revamped. This is the revamping. Talk to us.
Sometimes I
Okay, he's doing a Lestat thing right now. If any of you are familiar with Lestat from Interview with the Vampire, the Tom Cruise version was the best version. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Tom Cruise was the best Lestat. And then who was the other one? Was it Val Kilmer? Was it Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer? I think it was Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer. Interview with the Vampire, the original one.
My hands are always shaking, body's always aching, and the dark is when I feed.
When I feed. Come on, bro. You cannot tell me that this man doesn't get busy with the singing. He was doing it at first with the first song, and now that he's older, I mean, he's just, he's crystallized that voice and turned that thing into a real instrument. Please cook, buddy. Don't let me interrupt.
Body's always aching, and the dark is
When I feed.
Well, I can lure any woman that I want to in my bed with me, and whiskey seems to be my holy water. And mothers better lock your doors and hide your daughters. 'Cause I'm insane. I can feel it in my bones, coursing through my veins. When did I become so cold?
He said, I'm insane and I can feel it in my bones. One of the scary things about insanity is I don't know if it can actually be felt. One of the scary things about insanity is you never do realize you're insane. You remember that part on The Dark Knight with the Joker one, where Heath Ledger's Joker is sitting at that round table and the guy's like, "You're insane," and he's like, "No, I'm not. I'm not."
My veins. When did I become so cold? For goodness sakes, where is my self-control? If home is where my heart is, then my heart has lost all.
That is so flame. See, one of the reasons that this is fire is because it was jovial when he was a kid. And I'm just, I don't know how old he was when he did the first version of this. But it's like, when you're a kid, when you're young, all of that, I've lost control and I'm insane. It's all a game. It's all fun. But when that same naivety, when that same way of thinking follows you into adulthood, it can become a very melancholy and very disorienting way of being. And I like the way that this version captures that truth. Sometimes I wish I could sing like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't have one of those, one of the punk rock voices. Is it a punk rock voice? But I feel like one. You know what I'm saying? It's like a whiny, raspy. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of, it's. But I feel like one. You know what's crazy? Michael Jackson kind of had one of those. One of those kind of. Michael Jackson could have sang the heck out of this song. But I apologize. I'm interrupting a bit too much at this point. I'm going to let him cook. Sing that song, young man. Sing that song. I just love the way he's dancing. He's dancing on that melody right there, and that run. Like he's really singing, bro. You know what I'm saying? Please stop sleeping on Ronnie Radkkey. That sounds fly. Right.
Coursing through my veins. When did I become so cold? For goodness sakes.
You know what's crazy is when he says, when did I become so cold? That is a metacognitive realization. It's like, yo, was there a time when I wasn't like this? Right? To say, when did I become, is kind of a recognition that you haven't always been that way, that maybe there was some kind of event that sparked, you know, a series of other events that landed you in the place that you are.
Where is my self-control? If home is where my heart is, then my heart has lost all. Will you mortals believe? I just want the world to believe. Lost at the sight of your blood. I swear to God, I hear no thought.
Yo, the monks. Yo, leave it to Ronnie Radkkey to have to assemble 20 monks who have ascended a mountaintop at midnight to just sing into the cloud, he's not a vampire. You know, I would love to have a conversation with Radkkey just to ask, like, who thinks these things up, right? It's like maybe they're around, you know, a table. You know, maybe they're having a conference and they're like, listen, guys, we need a concept for how to make this even more, horrifying in a way that would really disturb, 18th century Catholics. Let's have, 20 monks on top of a mountain singing into the midnight sky. He's not a vampire. Yo, is he bringing in violins? Do you hear the fiddles?
So I sharpen my teeth, 'cause I love the way it feels when I sink into your skin and draw the only thing that's real. You don't believe me. Should I write it in blood? You better drive that fucking stake right down my heart and try and run, motherfucker! I'm a vampire! I'm sad, I can feel it in my bones, coursing through my veins. Did I become so cold? For goodness sake, where is my self-control? If home is where my heart is, then my eyes have.
Bro, why does Ronnie spare absolutely no expense on these videos? Now there's farm hands with pitchforks who've had enough. Their daughters making trips barefoot to his castle and then not coming back at all, or coming back with strange bloodthirsts. Radkkey?
Has lost all. Heart has fucking lost all. Heart has lost
Guys, in all seriousness, right? Hell, in my estimation, is what happens when you identify with transient things and those things inevitably die because they're transient. That's their nature. And by you're identifying with things like cars, clothes, money, status, right? Recognition. When you identify with those things and they take a turn for the worst, which they inevitably do since they're transient, they begin dying or disintegrating by definition. Your identification with them means you think you're dying when those things die. And that's what hell is. Hell is the eternal confusing itself for the transient. And so the eternal is now having this transient experience, and it feels like fire. That's at least one mystic's interpretation of hell. And what Ronnie might be trying to let on is that, look, I've identified with transient things, right? I'm someone who's not deeply at peace. And as a result of that, I treat myself as a subject in a world full of objects. Everything becomes objectified in my view. Everything is usable for my own ends. Even people who are in my way, let's say. Let me know in the comments if I'm overthinking it, if I'm underthinking it. Talk to me, please. In loving memory of Derek Jones. Guys, please leave in the comments who is Derek Jones. Also, another thing is I feel like Ronnie Radkkey has this urge to be epic. Like, and the thing is, you can be corny in pursuit of just being epic. Ronnie, in my opinion, isn't. Like, even the first thing when he was young and naive, right? That was still a dope song, right? He still has talent. And then on this one, with the piano and all of the drama and the imagination that's put into it, what I just watched was entertaining and fun, right? Even though he's using lyrics from, a decade before, right? And so Ronnie is, I think he does deeply want to be remembered. He wants to be goated into some degree, for what his mind comes up with. The crazy thing about this is that, I feel like despite him not necessarily being, free of the desire to be impressive, he still is impressive, right? A lot of people are accidentally impressive when they're trying to be expressive. But, no, I think that this was very, very dope. What's next from Falling in Reverse?